This video is about Bill Cosby. I'm going to go through these sexual assault cases on his Wikipedia page, and I'm going to point out that there's a lot of weird things in here that make no sense. And I'm not going to just point out the things that don't make sense. I'm also going to point out the evidence that exists. So the first thing here is that we've got a radio show in 1990 that apparently there were assault allegations against Cosby that had been published in the National Enquirer before 1990. However, there's no information citing the show. You know, obviously from 1990, we're not going to have recordings of the show, so we don't know if this is true. Over here, she's just telling what she had read in a magazine. That's not evidence. This is just an article. And I guess this is a clip from the Wendy Williams show, but it doesn't say anything about the National Enquirer. That's the proof has got to be the National Enquirer, or we got to hear her talking about it in 1990. So I don't know about that one. Okay, so I watched the Wendy Williams YouTube thing. It's just her recently recounting what it says on the Wikipedia page. So it's not something that's fact. It's just a witness statement. Now we come to the next thing over here. We've got. Did I move the page? I hope I didn't do that. Okay, I screwed this up. It was something about a statement that somebody made. Okay, it says, according to a statement provided by Detective whatever, February 2000. Well, where's the statement? And is this statement a verbal statement or a written statement? It doesn't say here. So without that, this is worth nothing. So then we have the woman Constant, Andrea Constant, who started all these problems. It says in January 2004, she went to the police. A year later, look what it says here, February 2005, she went to the police. No charges due to insufficient credible or admissible evidence. When I read about this, they said that Andrea Constant and Cosby told the same story. And if they told the same story, then they're both telling the truth. And the police determined it was a consensual relationship. So Constant did sue Cosby in a civil lawsuit, and she won $3.5 million. Okay, now you're going to hear some weird stuff. Cosby had drugged her coffee, and she awoke with her clothes partially removed. So a lot of the people, you don't hear anybody say, I met Cosby, I passed out, I woke up, and then I went home. That never happened. All of them gave testimony that said, I have proof that this happened. Usually it was, right before I passed out, I saw him naked before me. You're going to see that so many times over here, like Cosby is the worst criminal ever. And then a lot of them are going to say, when I woke up, my clothes were shifted, or in this case, she says partially removed. A lot of them said, I had vagina pain in the morning, which means that I must have had sex the night before. This is, I don't believe this. I think this is just nonsense. I mean, come on. So now the next one is even crazier. Listen to this. Cosby drugged and raped her the last 2 times they were together. If you were against it, then why did you do it another time? I mean, that makes no sense. Okay, so now we got another one that's questionable. This is Bowman. Barbara Bowman, she reported 2 incidents. If it happened the first time, then why didn't you stay away from him? She escaped his attacks, 2 separate attacks. Why was she near him the second time? It makes no sense. If someone attacks you, you don't be in a place to allow that person the opportunity to attack you a second time. It makes no sense. Okay, so next we hear about Janice Dickinson. She said, and I read her testimony, she wrote a memoir that was published a long time ago, like 15, 20 years ago, and she said that Cosby asked to go to her hotel room. He knocked on her door, and she said she closed the door on him and nothing happened. But then after this other woman came public, Janice Dickinson claimed something did happen. that was a crime. And this woman, I don't know if you know Janice Dickinson, she's a crazy person. She's on drugs all the time. Everything she says is absolutely crazy. You could tell that she's not a credible person. So then we've got another one talking about a Vanity Fair article where this woman made an allegation. This article was published in 2014 or something like that. And then we got another one in 2014. So just because it's published doesn't mean it's going to work, because the publishing of these accusations came out after Constant had made her allegations. Okay, so now here's something that's against Cosby. It says here that this woman, Lily Bernard, claimed that Cosby assaulted her in the early 90s and that she had been interviewed by police in Atlantic City. However, is this interview documented? We don't know. Okay, so we've got this other woman, Chelin Lasha. Public records show that Lasha has a criminal history, including a guilty plea for filing false report to the police. So she can't be trusted. But she has a famous women's rights attorney. Why would this attorney take this case of someone who can't be trusted? Okay, so now this is not going to be every allegation, but it's going to be some of them. Okay, this one says 2 attempts. One is in his New York home, and the other one is in Atlantic City. Why, if she had already been raped, did she allow him to be in a position to do it a second time? It makes no sense. So this one, we don't know. Backstage at the Tonight Show, I don't know if I would believe something like that would happen. Okay, gave her Quaaludes. You know, go and read it on your own. But based on what I've read, Quaaludes cannot prevent you from doing anything. It just relaxes you. That's what my understanding of Quaaludes are. He was getting this prescribed by his doctor. No doctor is going to give someone medicine that makes you black out or makes you paralyzed or any of that stuff. But that's what all these women were claiming. Cosby testified that what he had was Quaaludes and that he had a prescription from his doctor. I believe his doctor is now dead now. So that makes no sense. Okay, what do we got here? This one says there's going to be another story about Cafe Figaro it's not really that interesting. Okay, here's another one who said she woke up with her clothes disheveled, which this is the second one. So that doesn't make any sense. Okay, here's one, awoke to Cosby raping her. There's going to be a lot of them that say, right before I passed out, the last thing I remember is seeing Cosby naked. And then there's going to be a lot of them that say, I woke up and I saw him naked or something like that. It makes no sense, because some of them will say, I woke up in the morning. You know, like Cosby is waiting 8 hours for you to wake up, and then he's going to assault you when you wake up. And then the ones that say when they fall asleep, like he's not going to wait until you're completely out before he commits a crime. It makes no sense. This one says too drugged to move, even though the drugs were incapable of doing that because they were Quaaludes. It says it's mentioned in a videotaped interview in 1996. But why didn't you link to the interview? Where's that interview? I'd like to. So she says it was mentioned in a videotaped interview, but we don't see that interview anywhere. Okay, what do we got here? Awoke to him raping her. So this is the second one who says, as I awoke, here's the other one, as I awoke, he was raping me. That doesn't make no sense. You slept all night, and then when you woke up, he decided to rape you. I mean, come on. Also, there was something here. It says made vague allegations in 2006. This is Janice Dickinson, by the way, who wrote in her book that nothing happened between her and Cosby. She says that she was intimidated to say nothing happened. Well, then why did you mention it at all if you were intimidated? So here's one where Cosby's wife and a man that she was dating left the two of them alone. I don't understand why that would happen. I mean, why would she be the one to stay? I don't know. It makes no sense. Okay, so we got another one that mentions Cafe Figaro. Then we've got this one where there's a girl who said Cosby made her consume drinks that would make her unconscious until the next day. Do you really believe this? I mean, does she not go at home if she's 15? Isn't she going to go home and stay with her parents? Don't you think that her parents might be a little bit concerned if on more than one occasion she was coming back unconscious? It makes no sense. Oh, here's another one. She has one memory of being kissed before she passed out. So there's another one where she remembers a crime just before being passed out. And she's one of many where her college tuition got paid for. Here's one. Afterwards, she received regular payments from Cosby. Cosby was giving money to a lot of people, including Constant. So here's one that says in 2000, an allegation was reported to the NYPD, but we have no record of it. Okay, now here is one where she went to Cosby's place, where she was, listen, look at that, invited to a party. She was the only guest, had a drink, woke up not remembering what happened, and then guess what? Went back 2 years later. And guess what? Woke up fully naked. Again, Cosby is a horrible criminal. Why would he leave a woman naked? And I don't know. I don't think that I would not. Why would somebody undress a woman completely in this type of a relationship? I've never done something like that. Okay, here's another one. Says a drink that caused her to black out, which, remember, Quaaludes do not do that. Intermittent memories of Cosby trying to mount her. So once again, we've got another case where nobody says I blacked out and I had no indication of any wrongdoing. So all of them say I blacked out and I either saw him naked or he was touching me or I woke up and my clothes were off or something like that. So we've got another one. She just happens to have the memory. If she didn't have the memory, she doesn't have a case. Okay, here's another one. Woke up naked, and she woke up naked as Cosby began to assault her. So here's another one where she blacked out and Cosby waited until she woke up. This is the third time because he's the worst criminal in the world. Apparently wants to get caught. Why give them the drink if they're going to wake up? This is another one that said that she was offered money on the set of the Cosby Show. Oh, and this is going to be very interesting because there's going to be some that say that these things happened on the set of the Cosby Show, but yet the women who Cosby worked with, like Felicia Rashad, who's a very beautiful woman, all the women defended Cosby, which implies that he never made any moves on them. Okay, so here's another one. Remembers waking up naked the next day. Is this like the fourth or the fifth one? And then accepted another invitation. So she went back a second time, woke up naked a second time. Why would you do that? If I woke up naked at somebody's house, I would not go back and see that person. Okay, now this is a professional relationship. Takes a pill to help her relax. Blacked out, and here's another one. A lot of them are going to say awoke next to Cosby in bed. There's going to be a bunch of them that are going to say that. Would you do that? I don't think I would, but who knows? This is kind of a normal thing. Knocked her unconscious was Quaaludes do not do, and right before, guess what happened? He was humping her. So once again, he's the worst criminal in the world, doesn't wait until she's unconscious, and she received money. When she woke up, so this one is an accusation. This is going to be the second one that says this: gave her a drink and act intoxicated during an audition. Okay, here's another one where she became unconscious and awoke to Cosby performing oral sex because he does it for 8 hours, and I guess that he gets some sort of a pleasure doing this to an unconscious person. I don't know, but like I said, there's a lot of them that say the same thing. Why didn't he do it when she was unconscious? He's the worst criminal in the world. Okay, here's another one. Knocked her unconscious, waking up next to him naked. Is that like the fifth or sixth one or seventh one now? Let's see what we got here. Invited to Cosby's residence. They were the only guests. And here's another one where the friend left, but she stayed, awoke naked next to him. He's the worst criminal. And of course, she blacked out just as her friend was leaving. So she knows what was going on. They all, a lot of them, when they black out, oh, this happened right when I blacked out. Okay, now this one did not say that she went unconscious. She felt heavily drugged. However, again, Quaaludes would not do that. They merely relax you. I had laughing gas at the dentist, and afterwards I went grocery shopping. And I remember telling my friend, yeah, it really does relax you. But I still walked around. I still did the things that I needed to do. I just felt relaxed. You don't feel jittery. Here's another one. Blacked out, bra disheveled. And Cosby standing over her when she woke up. Because Cosby's the worst criminal in the world. He likes to be there when people wake up from being unconscious after he commits a crime. And here's another one. She went unconscious and she came to while he was raping her. So it makes no sense. How was she unconscious for like 2 minutes? I mean, or does he rape people for 8 hours or what? I don't think there's a drug that makes a person unconscious for 5 minutes. I don't think that exists. Maybe it does. And we're talking 1975. Maybe today they have drugs that might do weird things like that, but I don't think in 1975 they did not have drugs like that. A lot of them said, oh, I had a headache or menstrual cramps, and they were asking him for pills, which I doubt. Okay, here's another one. Waking up naked with Cosby's friend. She acknowledges Quaalude. Disoriented, but still conscious. Okay, now here's a weird one. The next thing she remembers, so she lost her memory, which I don't think Quaaludes do, was seeing semen on the floor. I could understand a woman believing this because they don't know anything about semen. But when a man hears this is just nonsense. Semen is mostly water. And you know what happens? After 5 minutes, it disappears and you'll never find it. Maybe if you're 18, your semen might be visible for longer than 5 minutes. But I do not believe that you can see it 5 minutes later. And a lot of these people were saying that it was happening hours later or the next morning, and that's just absolute nonsense. Okay, here's another one that blacked out and awakened while Cosby was committing the crime because, of course, he's the worst criminal ever. Here's another one talking about the headache. And like I said, I read 13 out of the first 15. Many of them said, I had a headache or I had menstrual cramps. Saw it over and over again. Okay, another one, waking up with a naked Cosby standing nearby. So that's like 7 or 8 that said waking up with the worst criminal in the world standing next to them. Let's see what we got here. Okay, no drugs involved at that. Look at this one. This woman, Kathy McKee, was invited to his hotel room. I do not believe that women accept invitations to men's hotel rooms, whether they're strangers or acquaintances. I do not believe that most women will do this. Even it was 1973. It rarely happens. And I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but it's rare. Here's another one said incapacitated. Incapacitated. Blacked out and woke up. This is what, 8 or 9 now? Woke up next to Cosby naked because he's the worst criminal in the world. So here we've got Cosby admitted to an extramarital affair. He was having relationships with a lot of women. That's definitely true. Despite their consensual sex, she blacked out once and he raped her. So they had a consensual relationship. Apparently, marijuana leads you to blacking out. If you blacked out, how did you know that he was raping you while you were blacked out? It doesn't make sense. Next one. Okay, now look at this one. This is a 15-year-old girl and alleges an assault. Who realized the trauma as an adult? I mean, come on. When she was 15, she didn't realize the trauma? This is just nonsense. I know memories of bad things that happened to me when I was a child, and it's hard to remember something when you're 4 or 5 years old. But when you're 15 years old, you're going to know if someone's assaulting you. This is just nonsense that she realized the trauma as an adult. So it says here there was an investigation, but we don't know anything about this investigation. There's no documentation. The police department keeps a record of everything. There should be a record if this happened in 1974. Where's the reference to it? They can put anything over here on this page. Anybody can edit Wikipedia. Okay, trance-like state quaaludes do not do that. Here's one that talks about money, but it doesn't say anything about, okay, it says forced her, but that's it. Okay, feel dizzy and out of control. Began petting her as she blacked out. Once again, we got the worst criminal in the world, that he didn't wait until she blacked out, and he starts touching her just as she blacked out. As she blacked out. You know, he knows, you read all of them, he knows exactly when they're going to black out because he's got some amazing talent when it comes to drugging people. Okay, some exercises involved inappropriate touching, but yet she accepted his invitation to go to his house to take a shower. That makes no sense. So Andrea Constant is nonsense. One of the things that's not mentioned here is that they proved that Andrea Constant lied because there were some phone calls. Let's check. The phone calls proved that was evidence that she lied. I don't remember the story. But look it up. What I believe happened is that she's claiming that he was assaulted, but they found evidence that she was calling him after the alleged assault on a regular basis. And why is it that you're calling him if he raped you on a regular basis? And I remember reading that he was giving her money, which ended up being like $3.5 million she ended up getting. Okay, we got something here that is nothing interesting. This one is about a kiss. So this is attempted assault. He attempted to kiss her. Who uses this expression? If he succeeded, maybe you could say he attempted to kiss her like a boyfriend. If he failed, you cannot make that claim. All you can say is he attempted to kiss her. This is not attempted assault, in my opinion. We don't know. There's really not enough information here. If you feel that you're assaulted because someone kisses you, maybe you need to grow up. Because it doesn't say successfully kissed. Okay, so we got another one where something caused her to pass out, and when she awoke, there were naked men near her. That's like the 9th or 10th time we've heard this story, because Cosby is the worst criminal in the world. Here's another one. Just before she blacked out, he caressed her. So he waits until the point where they're about to black out because he's the worst criminal in the world. And when she woke up, here's another one with the clothes missing when she woke up. Okay, so now this is an anecdote that says consensual relationship. Had sex while she was unconscious. How do you know? So how do you know that you had sex with him while you were unconscious? Passed out in Cosby's home before Cosby assaulted her. Well, if you were passed out, how do you know that you were or were not assaulted? Okay, so here's one: sexual assault for pressing his body against hers. That could mean anything. I would not call that a sexual assault. Okay, she blacked out, naked the next morning. Cosby was standing over her in a robe. So here's another one of those weird ones that Cosby is the worst criminal in the world, and he waits until you wake up, and he makes sure he's standing next to you, partly naked or naked. So now let's talk about Constant. Filed 12 years after the alleged incident. They went to court many years ago. So remember, she claims that this event happened, and she went to the police a year later. They had proof that she was calling him after the assault on a regular basis and that she was receiving money. And the police said that she and Cosby told the same story, which is why they determined it was consensual. And she then sued him in a civil case where she won $3.5 million and agreed that she would not sue again and that it would not be talked about in public. And then she violated that and started talking about it in public and then sued again, criminal charges 12 years later. That's all suspicious stuff. Okay, now one of the things, here's something, read this part. Constant admitted that she called Cosby twice on Valentine's Day, a month after the alleged incident. Constant said that there were sexual overtures by Cosby the night before the alleged assault, but that she still went to his house the day after. Another thing is, Constant claims to be a lesbian. So let's see if we can find that Andrea Constant. It says it right here that Andrea Constant is a lesbian. A lesbian is not bisexual. Why did she call him on Valentine's Day? And why? I mean, it just makes no sense. Okay, so now here's another one where it said that she was calling him up until March 2005, which is over a year after the incident, and she said, well, the calls were mostly related to Temple basketball. Why would she call her rapist to talk about Temple basketball over the period of a year? Okay, now this is the information about the 3.5 million. So it came out of documents that were released during the trial that she received $3.5 million from Bill Cosby, and then after that still continued to pursue a case against him. Okay, so this next section on Wikipedia is about women suing Cosby because he denied it, and therefore, if by him denying it, it's defamation, because that must mean by default that they must be lying, even though he didn't call them a liar. He just denying it means that it's defamation, which means that they're suing for money. And there's a lot of women. You can go through this page and read the list. Okay, so here's another one. We've got someone who says sporadically sexually abusing her over the period of 4 years. We don't have any other information, but why did you continue to be around him if he was abusing you? So now we got another one. Interesting. When words wouldn't come, a paralyzing feeling did. So he apparently was playing tennis with some woman. He invited her to his hotel room, and he said something, "I will have you," which just by saying it paralyzed her or gave her a paralyzing feeling. I think she's embellishing. I think she's embellishing to take advantage of what the media was reporting. Okay, so there's two women, Felicia Rashad and Keisha Knight Pulliam, who worked with Cosby. And like I said before, Felicia Rashad, she's a very beautiful woman, and she's got a very nice personality. She worked with him for 8 years. She does not have an accusation against him, and neither does Keisha Knight, which must have been it says the youngest child.